From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, hanging out in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and much more. Remember to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. D.A. Roberts is an author of fiction, primarily in the horror, dystopian, and scientific and sci-fi genres. When not writing, D.A. serves his community in law enforcement for nearly 2 decades as a correction officer, deputy sheriff, hospital security team supervisor, and most recently a patrolman with the Walnut Grove Police Department. Best known for his Ragnarok Rising series, he blends the zombie genre with elements of Norse mythology. The series has been called a thinking man's apocalyptic world. Now, D.A. is changing his tone a little bit, though. He's getting into the world of cryptids as he takes a fictional look at both Dogman and Bigfoot. All of D.A.'s books can be found on Amazon. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. D.A. Roberts, it's been a while since we had you back on this show, but we always love it when you are here, my friend. How you been doing?
I've been doing well. Work, sleep, repeat mostly. Working on the books, working as well, in law enforcement and that kind of thing. But my books and my writing are my passion, and fortunately, I've been able to get quite a bit done here lately. I've got 2 releases within the last month, so pretty happy about that.
Absolutely, my friend. And when you're not writing, you're a patrol officer. And I want to say, from all of us at Spaced Out Radio to you and all of your colleagues who are helping keep us safe, thank you so much for what you do on a daily basis. I know that in some communities, in some areas all around the world, what you do is kind of frowned upon. But I got to say, we love our police officers as much as we love our emergency technicians, firefighters, and veterans around here. So thank you for what you do, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So for people who may not be familiar about you, how did you get into the sci-fi genre of the horror?
Well, like I said, I've told you before on a couple occasions, I've wanted to be a writer since I was a small kid, but I've always been a huge fan of horror. But as years passed, I grew up on a farm. When I got into junior high and high school, I started reading some of the works of like Philip K. Dick, Robert Heinlein. Some of the old classics of sci-fi, and I really got hooked on it. And I've always wanted to do some sci-fi, and I've got a couple books out of sci-fi. I've got another one in the works, but it's just something I'm very, very passionate about in my writing, and I enjoy it. And something I hope, like one of my idols, Cormac McCarthy, who's in his mid-90s now, is still writing books. I hope I can be doing that when I'm his age.
Don't we all? I'm telling you right now, though, if I'm still doing this show by the time I'm 90, I'm probably doing it from the other side. I will tell you that right now. Please try and communicate with me when I'm over there. I will say hello back. I do not bite. And I got to say, man, I really appreciate your writings and work, and I think you work very hard, and you've got quite the abundant imagination that goes along with it. When you are building a sci-fi book like that, how much is imagination? How much do you have to let your imagination just run wild?
Well, no matter what kind of stories you write, there's a great degree of that. There's got to be the imagination, the creativity that goes into creating the story. But in sci-fi, it's as much like in sci-fi as it is in fantasy. You're world building. You're not just building a story that's set against the backdrop of modern society. You're creating that entire world, and it really, really makes you examine all the details. Because if you don't have the small details of how life works, then basically you're just telling a hollow story. I've always believed that it's the small details that make a story great. If the little details you build the foundation of the story on are what the rest of the story sets on. And without those little details in place, that's when your overreaching story kind of falls apart. So what I want to do is, when I create the universe, I want to create just the history of the universe at the same time. So create little details and give the characters full backstory and things like that. I think really brings the story to life, and that's part of the creative process when you're doing sci-fi is world building. You're really creating that entire universe, and I love that part.
With what you do on a daily perspective, and considering the stress you have with being in law enforcement, and I can't imagine that type of stress that you have day in and day out with that job. Is this just a way to help release everything and let everything go when you can just fall back into this movie that's running in your mind and through your fingers onto your keyboard?
There is a lot of that. Writing has always been very cathartic for me. When I was young, I wrote because I grew up on a farm in rural Missouri when we got maybe 2 channels on a good night. So my nose was either in a book or I was thinking up my own stories. And as I got older and we had more access to cable television, things like that, I found that those stories that I created in my own mind attracted me more than a lot of the stuff I saw on TV, simply because it wasn't well thought out. A lot of the things just didn't hold my attention as much as, because anytime you watch anything, let's say, for example, the Lord of the Rings movies. I love those movies. They're fantastic. But when you read the Lord of the Rings books, the movies really don't hold a candle to the books because they couldn't put all the details that are in the books in the movies. The movies would have been 8 hours long apiece. So the movie is just the tip of the iceberg. You get such a more in-depth story in the book, and that's one of the things that I love about the writing process. Is that's what draws me to it, being able to give those levels of details, and it's painting a picture with words. And some of the great masters before us, like Tolkien, have done that so well. I'm just hoping that I can somehow fill up compare to those shoes. I don't know that I'd ever fill them. But I would like to be remembered for my writing and for being able to tell a good story.
Well, that's excellent. And you started off with the Ragnarok series. Tell us what that's all about.
Well, the Ragnarok series was my take on the zombie apocalypse. I wanted to do something that was a little different. Every version of the zombie apocalypse out there has been done. You've got the Walking Dead version, and then you've got what was the movie with Brad Pitt? World War Z, where the zombies were all super fast and could climb over walls and everything. You've got multiple versions of the zombie apocalypse, but I wanted something that was uniquely my own. So I blended elements of Norse mythology with it, thus the name Ragnarok Rising. So as the zombies came in and the story progressed, it became more about Ragnarok. One of the best descriptions I ever heard of the Ragnarok series was on a website where they were doing a review, and I wish I could find the website again. I can't remember which one it was, but I've got to track it down. They called the Ragnarok series Walking Dead meets Game of Thrones, which I just absolutely loved.
Oh, that's not a bad review. That's not a bad review at all. And, when you're studying all of this, I have to ask, how do you find the information? What are you using as some sort of ability to gain information?
I do a lot of research. I do a lot of reading. Some of the things that I have to research, for example, Norse mythology, those are things you just simply have to research. But when you're talking about the tactics that they use, or weapons that the characters are using, or combat styles, these are things I've done. I was 3.5 years on the riot team. I've kicked in doors. I've been there, done that. So when I'm talking about how a pistol works, it's from experience. It's not just because I read about it or watched a YouTube video. And I think that shows through in the writing. One of the things I've gotten the most comments about is the action sequences in my book, as I can block them out in my head because I know how we would break it down. I know how each person would respond. I know how move, counter move works. So I think that my action sequences really set me apart.
Excellent. D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Hey, D.A., I want to get into what we're going to get into tonight, and we're going to get into a lot of cryptid talk and into your two books, one about Dogman, one about Bigfoot. The Bigfoot one actually was just released here. But, you know, did you always have a fascination with the cryptid world before you started this?
I first heard about Bigfoot, the legend of Bigfoot, from the old Leonard Nimoy In Search Of series back in the mid 70s. So since I was probably 5-6 years old, I have been absorbed by that. I read everything I could get my hands on. I grew up deer hunting, going out in the woods, hunting, fishing. I've been backpacking, camping, you name it. And I've always, in the back of my mind, every time I've been out in the woods, wondering, would I see something? And, part of me hoping that I would. But I've never had an actual encounter. I've had a lot of strange things happen that I couldn't explain. Heard some things that were unfamiliar with what they were. But I've never actually had a sighting. But I'm a firm believer that they're out there. Just too much documentation over the last couple hundred years. I'm going back to the Native Americans. Literally every Native American culture has their own version of it. And when you read the descriptions, they're talking about the same thing. Dozens of different names. Heck, where you're from, up in British Columbia, there's half a dozen names just in that area.
Oh, believe me, I know all too well with what's going on. And you never had your own experience, but you do have to take a little bit of a dip into the entire paranormal pool in order to understand the culture, the people, and the way the thinking is, because the way with the internet age that we have here, everything is broken down to such a minute scale. And when I look at it, I just think, how do you study all of that? I mean, we do it naturally on this show because that's kind of what we have to do to keep things going. But for someone like you, who's coming from the zombie world now into the cryptid world, how much of a learning curve was that?
It wasn't too much of a learning curve because over the last, since I was around long before the internet, but since the advent of the internet, I've read thousands of case files and listened to hundreds and hundreds of hours of podcasts on the subject. So I never really had to delve into the research when I started, Apex Predator, Wolf Moon, and then Lakeview, man. I didn't have to delve into the research because over the last 20 years, I've already done the research. I've been listening and reading everything I could get my hands on, thousands of accounts. And there's so many accounts you can read, and you just from the wording you can get, they'll put up red flags, but there's so many others that are just, you read that and you go, oh my God, you could almost smell the encounter from the descriptions. So like so many experts have said before, if you took 99% of the encounters and threw them out and said, these are all fake, you would still have that 1% that are absolutely dead on. And if that 1% is correct, how many more of them are? I mean, it's just too much of a preponderance of evidence to say it's not out there.
So when you started researching Dogman, because that's what we're going to talk about first tonight, as we get in more into the second half hour, we're going to get into your book and everything like that. But when you started researching Bigfoot and Dogman, did you have your own suspicions or thoughts or recollections of what this creature was? And when you did your research, were you able to think, well, that sounds strange or that sounds plausible?
Well, my first recollection that I can recall of hearing the name Dogman was, I've known about Bigfoot since like I said, I was a kid, but I've only known about Dogman for the last maybe dozen years. But my first recollection, I remember reading the account of the attack at the Land Between the Lakes, the Beast of LBL. And that one just set the hair on the back of my neck standing. I mean, it just really, really freaked me out. But then I started really delving into like accounts that are on the North American Dogman Project, and then accounts that you find online. And there's just literally dozens of websites and just as many podcasts where they talk about the Dogman encounter. In fact, the radio show Dogman Encounters is a great one. But so many encounters had similar occurrences. They would describe not only the way the eyes looked, but there were so many encounters that described hearing a popping sound before the creature stood up. And that could be very well be why we don't find them in the fossil records, because I think when they're on all fours, the hands the hands turn back more into paws. I think the bones can be rearranged so it's more of a paw structure. So when it's on all fours, it's leaving paw prints. And they described when the creature stood up, they heard this popping sound, and I've heard numerous accounts where the hands described more like a raccoon's hand than a human's hand, which would make that very easy for it to fold up with an extra digit. And that's just my theory. I think that when they're on all fours, they're more wolf than person. And I think when they stand up, they're changing in some way.
You know, a lot of people will say that Dogman is very much, equal to a werewolf on one side and on the other side a skinwalker. Where do you think it falls into place?
I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think there are instances where they can take human form. I think there's other instances where they're coming from wolf form to begin with. I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, like somewhere between Native American and European legend. I think these creatures are old. I think they've been around a lot longer than we realize. But now that our populations are growing so big and we're encroaching deeper into wilderness areas that we were never into before, I think that's why we're seeing an uptick in some of these encounters. I think they've always been there. They've just been weary of us.
Why do you call them weary?
I meant the word. I didn't mean weary. I mean leery. Leery of staying away from people.
Either way. I mean, I think it works both ways, weary and leery.
Yeah. Well, if you're the top predator in an area and you know that there's another predator that can and will hurt you, they avoid the predator. It's typical predator-prey mentality. They go for the easier prey. That's why, like, if you look at the missing 411, so many people going missing in national parks, they're generally alone. They're people that are, or small children or the elderly. They're people that are separate. They're away from everyone else. In some cases, they are armed, but they're generally alone. So they're attacking prey that are weaker. They're attacking prey that are away from the herd. Now, if you go out there with a large group of people with firearms, I don't think they're going to come anywhere near you. I don't think you're going to see one because they know that there's too much risk involved. Yeah, in the predator world, they go after the weaker prey. If there's a danger of them getting hurt, the risk is too high for them to try to take the prey out. Because when you're injured in the wild, that's a very easy way for a predator to become prey itself. So they can't risk getting hurt. They will go after prey that they know they can take.
D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight. We got about 5 minutes before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. So when you started delving into the paranormal realm, and that's, I'm using the word paranormal as an umbrella term here, do you feel that, that as you learned about Bigfoot, as you learned about Dogman, and like I said, we'll get into each separate case in the next hour and a half or so, but do you feel that you learned something through all of this, and what is it that you learned?
I feel like it's really, as I read more of the encounters and I studied more and I came to accept more as being definitely, like I said, the preponderance of evidence was there that it had to be real. I think it's really opened my eyes to things. I think I feel more alert to my surroundings. Like if we go for a hike or we go for a picnic, I feel like I'm more observant, and I would see things without being surprised. I wouldn't be as afraid of them. Not that if you saw an 8-9 foot Dogman, there's not a reason to be afraid. I'm just saying that I'm more open to the environment than I was before.
Were you a skeptic before that either of these existed?
I haven't really been a skeptic my entire life. Ever since I first heard about Bigfoot back in the 70s, I wanted to believe it was out there. And then the more I read about it, the more I was sure of it.
Yeah. So take me back to that skeptic in you. Why didn't you believe it?
Well, you grow up and you generally only believe the things you can see are real. It doesn't matter what it is, So many people have never seen a bear in the wild. And now we all know that bears exist. But if you grew up and had never heard of a bear, and one day suddenly one was in your front yard, that would be a world-shaking event for you. I mean, I never saw one. My parents never talked about them. Until I saw them on television with Leonard Nimoy the first time, I didn't know they were there. I wasn't aware of even the possibility of them being there, so they didn't exist in my world. But as I opened my eyes, as I started learning more about it, I went from being, what's the word, naive about the subject to suddenly being aware of a larger potential of the world around me.
Right. And as you started to gain that knowledge, what surprised you about it? What was your feeling on that?
I've had, I would call them paradigm shifts a few times. I think one of the biggest in that really, really shook the potential into me is, have you read the book Them and Us by Danny Vendramini?
No, I have not.
Well, Danny basically went back and took a more anthropological look at the last few generations of hominid, specifically, Cro-Magnon man and Neanderthal man. And when they started doing forensic reconstructions of some of the skulls, instead of building them based on what the scientists of the day that first discovered them back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, instead of building reconstructions based on what they had, let's say bias, what they thought it should look more human, they went and reconstructed it to show more of what it actually would have looked like than what the scientists of the day believed it would have looked like. And the reformations that they've done are just absolutely terrifying. If you've got Google handy, go to Google Images and put in Danny Vendramini, Them and Us, and look at the reconstruction of what he thinks Neanderthal looked like. And it's shockingly like what a lot of accounts of Bigfoot is.
Really? Yeah,
yes.
And I've seen pictures of that, and that's why a lot of people tend to think that, that Bigfoot in the forests around here is some sort of Gigantopithecus left over from Pangea, which is a descendant of Neanderthal way down the line. But you also have the spiritual side of the community and the extraterrestrial side of the community that completely thinks we're looking at something different here. So coming from that skeptical point of view and coming from that person who had to look at this from the outside looking in, how were you able to judge any sort of basis on either of these characters?
Just from eyewitness accounts and evidence that's been collected, both scat, there's been DNA collected, there's been hundreds of casts, and then you get guys like Dr. Jeff Meldrum that come in who are experts on primate morphology saying there's no way this footprint could have been faked. There's dermal ridging in it. They talk about, the mid-tarsal break. Until he mentioned that, I didn't know what it was. I didn't know anything about the morphology of primate feet. But he certainly does. He's an expert on it. And when scientists like that come forward and say this footprint could not have been faked unless you had somebody that was an absolute expert on primate morphology out there faking these, and what are the odds of that? I mean, guys that spend that many years becoming an expert in a field like that aren't running around the woods perpetrating hoaxes. These are guys that are teaching at universities, not going out in the woods like dressed in a monkey suit trying to scare campers. This is big. I mean, the Jane Goodall, the lady that did all the primate research on chimpanzees, she's come forward and said she believes they're real.
Absolutely.
You've got big people in the field people that know way more than I do about the subject that are saying there's something there.
Absolutely. DA, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. DA Roberts is our guest tonight. More Dogman, Bigfoot, all night long on Spaced Out Radio.
Hey, space travelers. This is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome everybody listening on in. We want to remind you that if you want to check out our free archives, you can do so at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and doing a little bit of reading and catching up on the news on Captain Shirk's SOR News Wire. Tonight we are talking Bigfoot, Dogman, because one of the good authors around here, his name is D.A. Roberts. He's got a couple of new books out regarding the two. They are of fiction, but every time you do a fictional book, D.A., you definitely have to get the facts down from what the researchers are doing, don't you?
Absolutely. I wanted the details of the encounter and the behaviors to be correct, both territorial and aggression. So I tried to give them behaviors based on things that I'd read and people have observed, especially researchers that have observed. So I wanted the encounters in the books to be as real as I could possibly make them.
Right on. And I was actually going to ask you about that. Like when you were writing these books and you had to figure out what these creatures were like, their habitat, their actions and everything, what did you learn about? Let's start off with Dogman.
Well, I think they're smart. I think you're crazy smart. But at the same time, they'll still react on instinct. I think they're dangerous. I think they're capable of limited speech. So I tried to reflect this. I think very much the behaviors of these creatures is very much like you would expect from an animal, but at the same time, the intelligence is there that it can set traps. It can sense when you're doing something that it's not aware of. So I tried to make them smart without making them too smart, if that makes sense.
Okay, so if you take Dogman, how did you break it down? Because we're going to get more into Dogman, and we'll get into Bigfoot next half hour. But with Dogman, because you got a brand new book out, Apex Predator, Wolf Moon, which is about Dogman.
Yes.
How did you break it on down from this creature? What did you need to learn?
I wanted to learn not only just behaviors, but the way people described them. For example, in so many accounts, people would describe seeing the eyes and having just an absolute feeling of pure evil looking back at them. And I wanted to capture that. I wanted them to not just be eye shine in the dark. I wanted people to feel nervous and scared when these things were around. Also, in the beginning, I wanted to convey that there was just one of them, and they rapidly found out there wasn't.
So when you started looking into Dogman, did you think there was maybe one, maybe two creatures out there that were haunting, or did you believe that there was an entire civilization of these creatures?
I think specifically Dogman. I think since they're very wolf-like, I think they move in packs. I think when you encounter one, you're either encountering a scout or you're finding one that's been either driven from the pack or is adventuring out on its own. I think when you get too close into their territory, you're going to run into the entire pack. So basically, anytime you have a single encounter, it's probably a scout. It's probably one that's out either hunting or keeping an eye out for threats, and you've just stumbled upon it. Similarly with Bigfoot, I think there's a definite family structure. I think when you see one, you're not seeing the whole family group. You're seeing either a hunter or again, a scout. I think these things are intelligent, and they're smart enough to know that if they don't have sentries out, someone's gonna stumble into the family group, and that's bad for the family, especially small ones. So I think there's a great deal of intelligence coming to play here.
So as you were breaking things down with Dogman, were you surprised to learn that there are so many different species or characters of this that are being investigated?
I was kind of astounded when I started. There's a guy who does a show called Matt Squatch Presents, and I really like his style. I like the way he's just very straightforward. He doesn't color it with opinion on whether or not he believes one thing or another, or one way or the other. He just basically lays the information out, and he does talks about his personal encounters and things like that. But if he discusses an encounter, he just lays it out and lets you decide what you think about the encounter. So I really like listening to him. But when he started saying that researchers have identified just from terrain differences, like, for example, down in Florida, you have the skunk ape, and up in the Pacific Northwest, you have the Patterson-Gimlin type, that based on sighting accounts alone, they believe there are 10 different types of Bigfoot and as many as 7 different types of Dogman. And that's terrifying that there are that many of them out there.
Yeah, and absolutely. But if you decided to break it on down, okay, and I'm thinking here, you mentioned lycanthropes and the Michigan Dogman, Rougarou, Loup-garou, werewolves. What are the nuances between each one that you were to learn? And maybe take a few of these and break them on down.
Well, I think the real separator on them is behavior. Like the European legend of the werewolf, it'll hunt in town. It hunts its prey wherever the people are, and it's the classic case of a human who's turned into the wolf. So therefore, they're still preying on the fringes of human society. But then you get to the ones like the Rougarou that lives out in the swamps of Louisiana. They avoid people. They stay out in the deep swamps, but if you stumble across one, it can be extremely dangerous. So I think what we're looking at in the different types is just a variance of behavior and probably a distinct variance in morphology. Ones that would be out in the deep woods would probably spend a great deal of time on all fours. The Dogman type that we see closest to civilization, they see up on 2 legs of the majority of times. Like the one at the Beast of LBL and the Beast of Bray Road. Both of those have been reported on 2 legs more often than on 4. So I think behavior is really what delineates them. Not so much size, and not even so much appearance, because the appearances are a lot of times are very descriptively similar. But behaviors are very different from different parts of the country. And I'd say there's be certain adaptations that you would see for the ones that live in the swamp as opposed to the ones that live in the Pacific Northwest, up in the deep woods. Their body types are going to be different. And it's the same thing if you look at like black bears. If you look at a black bear from the East Coast and a black bear from the West Coast range, they're the same species but very different. Key features are different. Colorations are different. Feeding habits are different. It just depends on where they are. They adapt to their surroundings.
All right. So when we talk about apex predator, we're talking about something that could pretty much take anything out. And as you're learning about this, keeping people aside for right now, what do you think these apex predators are feeding on? Is it deer? Are they omnivores? Are they just strictly carnivores? What did your information take you to?
Well, if you look at the animal community, you look at, say, for example, again, black bears. This far south in the lower 48 and farther down into the south, black bears are very omnivorous. They spend a lot of times eating berries and roots and grubs. They'll eat what they can find, and they forage and graze. They'll even eat plants. But you get up farther into the north, look at the polar bear. The polar bear's diet is meat. It exists on meat alone. And that's because it requires a much higher caloric intake to survive in the cold reaches. So, depending on where you're from, if you're in if you have colder, harsher winters, you're going to see these creatures that eat more meat. So they'll definitely be preying on, for example, deer. As you brought it up, they'll be preying on deer, the lone hikers, people that have wandered away from civilization out on their own, easy prey. Even if they're armed in some cases, because you may not see it coming up behind you or dropping on you out of a tree, which is, again, ambush predator mentality. I think where it's at also will reflect greatly on its diet. When there's so many other things plentiful, it might eat other things. Down in the warmer areas, you've got a plethora of rabbits, squirrels, any number of small game that they could easily catch. When you start getting up into the colder environments, the smaller animals get a little more scarce because it's harder for them to live. So they've got to go after bigger prey.
D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight. He has a couple of brand new books out, one called Apex Predator, Wolf Moon. It is a fictional story, but he had to learn about Dogman, and later on we'll get into Bigfoot. Okay, so you mentioned, that these are apex predators. Now, a lot of people have differing opinions about the research. Some will say there's a spiritual, supernatural side to many of these creatures like Dogman. Others will say, look, we don't know what this is. We just know there is one pissed off animal hanging out in the forest around here, and it is scaring people. How do you delineate between the two sides? And what were you able to combine?
When you're dealing with top-end predators, for example, the grizzly bear is definitely at the top of its food chain. Nothing preys on the grizzly bear. It is the apex predator of its zone. You might be able to encounter a grizzly bear in the wild 50 to 100 times and nothing happened. But you catch that bear when it's hungry or in a bad mood, it's going to tear you apart and eat you. It's all going to depend on circumstance and opportunity. If it's hungry and desperate or hurt and looks for easier prey, it's going to attack something it figures can't really fight back. Same thing with any apex predator. They're going to go after things that are easier, require less energy to kill. Because the more energy you expend for the reward, you've got to do the cost versus risk analysis. Is the risk worth the reward? And you wouldn't do something that would require you to run the equivalent of 5 miles to catch something that would only provide the nourishment of, say, a small rabbit. But then again, if you're going to pursue something for 5 miles, there's going to have to be a number. Going to have to be the reward's going to be worth the risk, the expenditure required. So they're going to go after prey that's worth it. And it's the same across the board with any apex predator. They basically target an opportunity. They'll go after anything that they can get easily, and if they have the opportunity to eat.
True enough, and that's the way it should be. That's absolutely the way it should be. And when you have that type of creature that is hanging around the woods, I mean, something's always got to be at top of the food chain. But when you look into the supernatural side, which many Native Americans and Indigenous people believe that these creatures pose some sort of supernatural ability, how did that affect what you learned about it as well?
Well, the supernatural angle, I'm not an expert on it. I don't understand that end of it. There are a lot of supernatural abilities attributed to Bigfoot, whether it can cross in other dimensions, and then there's people talking about whether they're biblical in nature. I'm trying to remember what the word it was, Nephilim. And I don't know anything about that. I'm not going to dispute it. I'm not going to say it's wrong because I don't know. It very well could be. But the only thing I can say is based on eyewitness accounts. People have described them literally vanishing before their eyes. But that could be an animal that's just so adept at its surroundings. All it has to do is step into the bushes and you can't see it anymore. I've seen camouflage work that way. It doesn't necessarily mean it turned invisible or stepped into another dimension. It just lost you. And any animal that's that good at hiding could do that easily. And I've seen guys that were trained military like level of Army Rangers that would literally disappear in the woods, and you wouldn't know them if you stepped on them.
D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. The reason why I asked that is Butch Witkowski from UFO Cop was on the show last night, and a week ago we had Jody Cook on, who runs the North American Dogman research team. And anyways, they often get these eyewitness accounts. Now, granted, they're verbal only, and there's not really a lot of evidence regarding it, but they get a lot of eyewitness accounts who talk about this telepathic communication where if someone, say, raises a rifle to a dogman, they get this overwhelming feeling like the creature is saying to them, yeah, you might want to put that down, otherwise some bad stuff is going to happen. So let's just be smart, put the gun down, and everybody's going to be okay. And a lot of people, not just one or two, have reported that to these gentlemen over the years. So as someone who is new to this, and I know you take more of a pragmatic approach, but can we limit that out, that there is some sort of woo to this type of creature?
I would never go out and say that what they refer to as the woo doesn't exist. It's just not something I've experienced. I've read accounts about it. I will in no way say that it's impossible, that it can't happen. What I will say is that in situations like that, it could just simply be them reading the body language or getting the impression. It doesn't necessarily mean it's telepathic. Like having the distinct feeling, I probably shouldn't do this, and it really nagging at the back of your brain, like, if I pull this trigger, everything's going to change. I've had that feeling in the line of duty, like, like, is there another way in this situation when you're looking at somebody? And it's not because the guy I was facing down had telepathy. It's me looking for ways out of the situation without it turning lethal. And you've always got to be aware of that. I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm not saying that there's no way these creatures could have some sort of limited telepathy or even full telepathy. I think there's other explanations for what people are seeing. And it's very difficult for some people to articulate the feeling, so therefore they grasp at something that makes it easier to explain. Like staring. Well, the first time when I went deer hunting when I was a kid, I didn't want to pull the trigger, and it's not because the deer was brainwashing me and telepathically saying, "Please don't kill me, I'm Bambi." It's because I felt remorse. I didn't want to shoot the deer. But then, later when I realized that, not because growing up in the 70s in rural Missouri to a family that didn't have a lot of money, that deer meant food in the freezer. And I came to terms with that. I would never, ever be a trophy hunter. I would never, ever hunt an animal just for the sake of hunting it. If I had to shoot a dogman, it would be because it didn't leave me a choice. I would never go out with the intent of just killing one. If I shoot an animal when I hunt, it's because I want to put it in the freezer. It's not because I want to drag it in and throw it on somebody's desk and go, look, this exists. I would only shoot a dogman or a Bigfoot if I absolutely had to.
D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. D.A., we've got about 6 minutes before we go to break at the top of the hour. And, I understand that, yet we have had, or at least Jody and Butch have had reports, as well as others, that say they have shot at this creature. They've hit this creature with pretty high potent slugged ammunition, and it hasn't fallen. It hasn't barely rocked backwards or died, for instance. If people have shot at this thing in the past, and it doesn't drop, and they put an extra round in, and then an extra round in, and nothing happens, what do we do? Or how does that make us feel about this creature? Because I'm telling you, man, I'm not a hunter. I don't own a gun. When I go out in the forest, I go with friends like my buddy Mikey or Mark, and they are armed. And yeah, because the forest can be a dangerous place. Never mind Bigfoot, Dogman, but it can be a very dangerous place. So when you hear those stories of this happening, granted, you got to take people at their word. What's your thoughts about the fact that many say a gun, doesn't matter how powerful it is, can't bring either a Dogman or Bigfoot down?
So I would disagree with that. I think a good chunk of that is shot placement, and I think a chunk of it is, like, if I was going to go try to take down a moose, this is an enormous animal, I wouldn't use an AR. We're talking about bone density. We're talking about muscle density. I don't think an AR, 5.56, even military-grade round would have the stopping power to drop a moose. You're going to need something that's going to be able to penetrate that much muscle, that much bone. And I think when you're talking about a Bigfoot or a Dogman, you're talking about something that has a great deal more bone and muscle density than we have. So normal rounds, smaller caliber rounds, aren't going to penetrate. You might wound it. You might even do significant damage. But if your shot placement isn't dead on and it doesn't have the round doesn't have the ability to punch through that much bone and muscle, you're wasting your time. You wounded it, and you probably pissed it off, but you're not really you're proving you're not really a threat when going up against something like that with the equivalent of a pea shooter. When it hits and does minimal damage, it's not a threat. Now, having said that, if I were to go out into the woods specifically to hunt something like Bigfoot or Dogman, I would probably take a 50 Beowulf. Or Guncrafter Industries out of Arkansas makes a pistol. It's a modification on the Glock. That's the 50 GI or Guncrafter Industries round. That handgun in trials penetrated 40 inches of ballistics gel. 40 inches. That bullet's going to do some damage. You're going to penetrate muscle and bone with that. So I think when you're talking about people that have shot at these things and said it shrugged it off, they shot at something, the equivalent of shooting at a tank with a BB gun. They didn't have enough power in the round to do damage to something that big. If I was gonna go hunt a grizzly bear, I certainly wouldn't do it with a .22. I would want something that's going to be able to punch through that much muscle, tissue, and bone. And a .22 caliber pistol is not going to do it. So I think it falls down to shot placement and the ability to punch through that much muscle and bone. Bone density and muscle density is definitely a factor.
Juan on Twitter says, Dave goes into the forest unarmed. His friends are armed. There's the question, would his friends rather shoot the bear or outrun Dave? No, I can tell you what's going to happen because I've been threatened, Juan, that if a grizzly bear attacks, they're shooting me in the leg, so that way I'm attacked and they get away scot-free because I can run faster than both of them. I can run faster than both of them. So they're going to take me out in order to make sure they get away. And apparently I've agreed to this. So I don't know where I agreed to it. Apparently I have. And
by going in unarmed.
Yeah, I know.
The golden rule of history, those with the weapons make the rules.
Well, hey, what can you do? What can you do? I don't make the rules here, but hey, safety first, I guess. Safety first. But nonetheless, it's one of those things where I just got to have the acceptance that until I go and get my firearms license, that I'm going to be a victim if we get attacked. I am totally going to be a victim. And they're just saying that out of friendship, too. Because that's what friends do. That's what friends do when it comes to this. We got about a minute to go here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight. Overall, do you believe Dogman exists?
Yes, I definitely do. I believe Dogman and Bigfoot are both out there. It's just a matter of time until the right people have documented their existence before they stop saying everybody else is crazy.
Really? Because some people may say you're the crazy one for talking like that, man.
I think they're out there. There's just been thousands upon thousands of sightings and confirmed cases of people being taken. I think we'd be an idiot to think that it's not out there.
Well, that's the big mystery. Because it always comes down to, why haven't we got a body yet? Why haven't we found a body? Why haven't we been able to bring a body out of the forest?
Well, I've been hunting the woods of Missouri and surrounding states since I was old enough to hold a firearm, and I have never, ever seen a black bear skull in the woods. And we know they're there.
That is true. That is very true, my friend. I'm going to get you to hold on right there as we are going to go to break at the top of the hour. Author D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Apex Predator, Wolf Moon. It's a story, fictional, about Dogman. And we're going to get into his other book as well, The Lakeview Man. What's he know about Bigfoot? Let's find out from D.A. Roberts in Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today. Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR, where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com, where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com, and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
We are underway in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. We want to give a shout out to everybody listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America, as well as on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio on the digital side. Remember, all of our archives are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lakhetic? Yeah, I think that's it. Lakhetic is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and staying up to date on the news with the SOR Newswire that Captain Shirk puts together. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Tonight we are talking with author D.A. Roberts. He's got a couple of great books out right now. Apex Predator, Wolf Moon. This is about Dogman. And The Lakeview Man is also out. This is about Bigfoot. And D.A., I want to say thank you for joining us tonight. And I want you to break down a little bit here before we move on to Bigfoot and The Lakeview Man. I want you to break down the Dogman story that you did about Apex Predator, Wolf Moon. What's this all about?
Well, Apex Predator starts out with a murder. The late great Jim Starlin once said that every great story starts with a death. Well, this one starts with a couple of them. And a detective with a small sheriff's department is investigating it as an animal attack until he realizes it's more. I blend elements of the Dogman legend with Native American mythology, and I think it tells a much bigger story than you would expect. I like the characters in it. I'm going to keep them around for a while. And it's an action-packed ride. I pack it with plenty of action, and you get to really see the more sinister side of the Dogman. You get to see how smart they are, their ability to plan ahead, to even set traps. I think it's pretty much a roller coaster ride, and I would love for y'all to check it out.
All right. So with the Ozarks, where this takes place, it's obviously in, I'm going to assume, Arkansas that you built this story around?
It's actually outside a small town called Eldridge, Missouri. My uncle had land there. It's where I grew up deer hunting, so I know that area well. I know every river, pond, and valley in that area, and that's where I set it. I wanted to tell stories and places and backdrops where I've been, and I plan to do that with all of my horror. I've set, even the Ragnarok books were all set here in the Ozarks, in areas I've been, in areas I grew up. I did a radio show called NDB Media out of L.A., California, and the host of the show, a guy named Roger Noriega, said, well, that kind of makes you the Stephen King of the Ozarks. And I cracked up at the time, but that nickname has popped up a few times, and I'm kind of happy, kind of proud of it. Referring to me as the Stephen King of the Ozarks, and Stephen King does all of his stuff in Maine. All of his horror is set in Maine, which is where he lived and grew up and still has a residence there. And I plan to do all that with the Ozarks. And the Ozarks span across 4 states, part of Kansas, Arkansas, Missouri, and over a bit into there's Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and a bit of Kansas. And if you really look at the way the plateau extends, we could actually claim part of Western Tennessee and Kansas, Western Tennessee and Kentucky, not Kansas. So it's a big area, and it's rich with folklore. So there's a ton of material for me to do here just in the Ozarks.
All right. So when you have that setting, for people who've never been there, like myself, not very familiar with it, is it something that is very wooded? Is it mountainous? Describe the area for us.
The Ozark Plateau is very hilly. I wouldn't call them mountains by your standard, but they if you look at plat maps or look at maps of the Ozarks, they refer to it as the Ozark Highlands or the Ozark Mountains. But by the standards where you're at up near the Rockies, they're not mountains. They're much smaller than that. But geologically, they're old. The Ozark Highlands have been around for a long, long time, since way before there were people on 2 legs walking through them. It's an area steeped with folklore and mystery. Most of the area is very densely wooded. We've got a lot of heavy timber here, a lot of big oaks, walnuts, maples. We've got some big timber here. The Mark Twain National Forest covers a big chunk of the state. If you looked at a map from orbit, you could see that there's a lot of unbroken green that goes from mid-Missouri to mid-Texas, especially when it bleeds into the big thicket territories. And there's a lot of heavy timber along the Mississippi. So we've got a lot of forest and a lot of mountainous area where things like that could easily hide. It's completely feasible that there are areas that probably haven't seen somebody since the settlers came through. There's some very dense areas people just don't go.
So when you were building this story about Dogman, what were you trying to capture about it? What was the goal for you?
I wanted to capture the remoteness of the Ozarks, on how you can go. Well, like the city I live in is called Springfield. It's the third largest city in Missouri, and it's not New York scale. It's if you counted the bedroom communities that really butt up against Springfield, you could probably total the population in the area about 250,000. But still, a quarter of a million people in a fairly small area is a lot of people. But you can drive literally 5 minutes in any direction from the city limits and be in thick timber. It's a big town right smack in the middle of a very rural environment, and Southwest Missouri is like that. Even areas where you find where there are communities, they're surrounded by woods, and people deer hunt and fish, and there's so many lakes and rivers. In fact, Lake of the Ozarks, just to the north of us, has more shoreline than the state of California. It's just a massive lake that winds its way through the Ozarks Mountains. And there's a lot here, a lot more than people realize.
I wouldn't know. I mean, I'm only surrounded by about 500 lakes within an hour's drive. So, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it is beautiful, picturesque type company. So when you were designing the Dogman around it, what kind of attitude or character were you giving the Dogman in this? And how did that go?
I kind of cast them as the interloper, like they were moving into new territory and looking for new sources of food. And you can't really blame that on society encroaching into their territory. They were moving more into civilized areas, like they'd lost their fear of man. And that's where the real conflict came in, because they weren't afraid of anybody. They were used to being the top of the food chain until somebody showed them, hey, we can knock you down. And it took everything they could in the book to do just that. But there's more to that story. In fact, I'm working on the sequel to it right now. It's going to be called Apex Predator Blood Moon, and I'm about 10,000 words into the project.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. And here I was just happy that I finished chapter 6 of my book yesterday. Gee whiz. I'm on page 82. Page 82, 10,000 words. My God, you're making me look. I'm embarrassed now. I'm absolutely embarrassed.
What do you think of the 6 chapters you've read?
I got to tell you, I'm impressed so far. Yeah. Hey, I also want to ask you about Bigfoot here, because you just dropped a brand new book here called The Lakeview Man. Tell us about this one.
Well, it takes place more to the south of where I am now, around Table Rock Lake, which is another big lake in our area. And again, it's not so much people encroaching into their environment as they're coming in more into settled areas. One of the types of Bigfoot that I've read about in the research is called a gugway, which I guess is I think Algonquin for face eater. It's a very aggressive strain of Bigfoot that preys on large prey, and has been reported to abduct people. So I wanted something that was extremely aggressive, and I got it. The gugway are very aggressive, and they it starts out the main character, who's a deputy sheriff, gets called for a missing persons case, a missing child, and doesn't believe what he runs into. It turns out that what took the child isn't human, and he was expecting it to be a child abduction case, and it just devolves from there. These are very big, very powerful primate creatures, and they're very intelligent, and that shows through. The characters get the sense really quickly that they're the ones being hunted, and that's what I wanted to convey. Just how easy it is to get off the beaten path in the Ozarks and be surrounded by dense woods.
Well, it's amazing that you're talking about a child who goes missing in this, because once again, we talked with Butch Witkowski last night about that child in North Carolina who went missing, who said he was taken by a giant teddy bear.
Yeah.
And us in the Bigfoot world, we're all like, that's a Bigfoot. And everybody, well, Exactly. It could have been a bear. It could have been a bear. No, in winter, if bears wake up out of hibernation, there's 2 things that they are: angry and hungry.
Yeah.
Children are easy meals. That bear would have torn that child apart.
Even a black bear would.
Yeah.
And black bears are known generally to be more afraid of us than we are of them. And it falls into a lot of people get into habituation, which I think is a really bad idea, especially when you're dealing with a large primate, people leaving food out for Bigfoot to try to get them to come around their property. But I've heard tales of people that fed black bears on a regular basis, and then the one time they didn't, the bear would rip the door off the hinges and come in the house looking for food. The last thing you want is a large animal capable of doing great amounts of damage pissed off because you didn't feed it.
I know. And, so when immediately when you think child, it immediately tugs at the heartstrings of everybody, because everybody wants to make sure, it doesn't matter whether it's fiction or in reality, that a child is okay. So is a child okay in this? We got to know.
You're going to have to read the book. I don't want to give it away. It's a brand new book. It just came out Saturday, and I don't want to give that away. I want people to go in that, and I want the shock value of the things that happen in that book to affect them on a primitive level. I want them to read that book and gasp. And I've had people that have already read the book who have contacted me through Facebook and said the book is giving them nightmares, which is exactly what I'm going for. And I intend to ratchet that up with the coming sequels.
Aren't you a pleasant guy? Yes. Does it come with a full roll of toilet paper then? Because for TP is important on a scary book these days.
It probably should in some cases. I really want these. I want to convey not just the danger. I want to convey the terror, because that's something that that people who've survived encounters with large predators, specifically bears, talked about was the absolute sheer terror. Some of the encounters that people have described with Dogman and Bigfoot, they talk about the feeling of being hunted, the feeling of pure terror, and I want that to convey. I want that. I want people to read my books and go, oh my God, what was that? I've got to read that again just to be sure. I once heard a description. It was actually by the singer Alice Cooper when he was talking about Salvador Dali, the painter. Yes. Alice said he described his music as pure shotgun rock and roll. He wanted people to view his music the same way they did a Salvador Dali picture, that they would look at it and leave and be disturbed and say, well, I think I saw this and I know I saw that, but I got to go look again just to be sure. And that's what I want to convey with my writing. I know people that have read the Ragnarok books half a dozen times, and to me, that's the best form of compliment you can get as an author, is people that want to read your books over and over again. And that's what I'm going for, Dave. That's the kind of thing I'm going for. I want to write books that people want to read. I may not get the critical acclaim, and I'm certainly not getting the level of sales that Stephen King gets, but I would love to get there. But I'm happy knowing that people that have read my books have been moved by the books, moved to the point of reading them more than once. And in the end, that's the best form of compliment you can get.
Well, that's always good. D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. So what did you look and what did you learn about Bigfoot that you didn't know?
Well, I learned how intelligent they are. I learned that from encounter to encounter, people are reporting different things. Some of them report peaceful encounters. Some of them are reporting different types of aggression. Some of them are reporting that the creatures gifted them things, gave them little gifts. So there's dozens of types of behaviors, and I wanted to be able to convey that just because something happened one way doesn't mean it's going to happen that way again. They're unpredictable. And any large animal, specifically predators, if they're unpredictable, they're dangerous.
Do you think that Bigfoot is a dangerous creature?
Yes, I do. I think any animal that big is capable of being dangerous. I think any animal. Well, look at the story about the guy they used to call the Grizzly Man. He, for years, studied grizzly bears up in Alaska and had peaceful encounters with this group of grizzlies. He would be right there where they were feeding and never had an issue. And then he went back with his girlfriend and an older bear who was having trouble feeding and catching food, went into their tent and killed both of them. These are dangerous animals. Anytime you're dealing with a wild animal, you don't know the outcome. I've seen guys attacked by deer. You don't know what's going to happen. They're not behaving like civilized like people. Not that half of the people behave civilized anymore, but you're dealing with an animal that's capable of enormous amounts of damage. Look at a chimpanzee. A chimpanzee average weighs 100, 120 pounds, but is on the order of 6 to 7 times stronger than a human. So what would happen with a primate that's 8 foot tall and weighs 800 pounds? What's it going to be able to do?
Well, and that's the point. I mean, we hear, though, so many differences about this creature. For instance, the West Coast creature, kind of like in British Columbia, where I am, Washington State, up until you get to that angry little pack around Mount St. Helens. And why wouldn't they be angry after the mountain blew up on them? All right, but you get that West Coast, and maybe they're smoking too much hippie lettuce or whatever it is, but they seem a little bit more docile and relaxed for the most part, and want to be a little bit more left alone. But then you hear about the critters, that run through the bayous of Louisiana and east towards Florida. They seem to be smaller, stockier, angrier. They're much like a house cat, just upset that today they're living living. You know what I'm saying? And then you head up north towards, northern New York, Maine, into Ontario and Quebec, where this creature seems to be a little bit more aggressive, but just as what's the word I'm looking for here? It disappears just as quick. It doesn't like to be seen, but it's a lot more vocal. So when you take this creature and you kind of spread it around, do you think those are different species of the creature, or do you think that they've just engaged in their own habitat?
I think they're subspecies, kind of like how many different subspecies there are of gorilla and chimpanzee. Like, for example, they just recently discovered a new species of chimpanzee, the billy ape, and it's extremely aggressive to the point of like hunting and eating. The rumor was that they hunted and ate lions. That's a dangerous animal, and it's a chimp. It's the size. It's a little bigger than a normal chimp, but it's still chimp size with the capability of hunting other large predators. So when you throw into the mix an animal that weighs on the high end 1,000 pounds, it's a dangerous animal. And territory, I think, territory is a big factor in that. I think they're more aggressive when you're encroaching into their territory. We read instances where people have been bluff charged. We read incidences where people have been shadowed and basically walked out of the woods. They were made to know in no uncertain terms, you don't need to be here, and I'm going to follow you until you're gone. And then there are other people that have been chased out of the woods. And then you look like, again, missing 411, David Pilates, so many people that go into the woods and just don't come back. There are literally thousands of cases in Alaska alone of people that have gone into the woods, experienced hunters, experienced hikers, people that have done it thousands of times and vanished without a trace. Yeah, you could say a good chunk of those are bears, but bears are messy. If you find a bear attack, you find pieces. You find a bloody crime scene where people have been mauled and torn apart. And generally, a bear won't eat the person in one sitting. They'll bury part of it in leaves or dirt, and they'll find the kill nearby so it can circle back later when it's hungry and eat again. Now, you're talking people that aren't leaving a sign, people that disappear without a single trace, nothing ever found of them. And then there are cases of hunters who've gone out in the woods, and they will find the hunter snapped almost in half, wrapped backwards around a tree, and find the rifle broken. That's not bear behavior. Bears don't do that. It would require hands to snap a rifle over a tree. We're talking something with opposable thumbs capable of inflicting large amounts of damage on a human being. So I think when you start getting into the remote areas of the world, when you're running into creatures that are by nature territorial, and in some cases not afraid to eat people, I think that explains a lot of why so many people go missing in the woods.
D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We got about a minute left before we have to go to break here. We're going to continue the Bigfoot conversation after this because you and I kind of have a little bit of a different outlook on what this creature is. You're more mammal, I'm more woo, and I think there is a healthy answer in between that we may debate. But, in the aspect of what you were writing, do you believe this creature is more animalistic?
I think it's a flesh and blood creature. Whether that means it's Nephilim or from another dimension, I can't say. I mean, I can't say what the origin of the creature is, but I think they've been here a long time. I think they predate modern civilization. I think they've literally been here for thousands and thousands of years. And yes, I do believe they're a flesh and blood creature, but I won't rule out anything like you were saying, Dave, what you refer to as the woo. I won't say it's impossible. I won't say it can't happen. I will never be the guy that'll say, "Oh, that's absolute BS. That could never happen. I don't believe you. I'm discounting everything you say because you believe this." No, I'm not going to be that guy because it could be real. We don't know. And that's
exactly. Let's discuss that when we get back from the break here. D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. More on Bigfoot coming up.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today. We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you'd know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We pass the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to remind all of you that if you have missed portions of this show or others, you could check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. The only thing I ask for in return, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocking Out to Bumblefoot and Catching the News with Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, which is updated daily. On Twitter, you can find us at Spaced Out Radio for the show, at Dave Scott SOR, my personal handle. Tonight we are talking with author D.A. Roberts. We are talking about his latest book that literally just dropped this week, called The Lakeview Man. It's about Bigfoot, and we're talking Bigfoot with Big DEA tonight, and him and I are about to drop the gloves here. So if you're just tuning in, you actually picked a good time, because he's on Team Ape, I'm on Team Woo, and we're at Center Ice, right in St. Louis, at the rink there. Let's go back to the old odd. How about that? Can we go back to the old odd? Let's do that. And let's drop the gloves. Let's go on this, a little hockey style. I'm telling you right now. Up. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I may get you on this one. I may get you on this one because, because I've got that hockey experience. But no,
I don't know. I fight like Mark Messier.
Well, then you didn't fight much in your latter career.
He got old and hurt.
Yeah, I know. He was a
thug in his early career, though.
Oh, I loved him. Loved him back in his Edmonton days.
He was a joy to watch.
Oh, yes, it was. Yes, it was. When hockey was hockey and not that crap that they try and pawn off today for $100+ a ticket. But that's a whole different conversation, my friend. Whole different conversation. I want to ask you in regards to Bigfoot, because we were getting into that, and whether or not this creature is, an ape, or if it's something supernatural. When you go into that, and we can even include Dogman in this a little bit, did you talk to any Indigenous people about their thoughts of what the creature is and what it's all about?
Well, I've heard so many accounts from as you put it, Indigenous people. My uncle, he was married into the family. He was my uncle by marriage. He was a full-blood Cherokee. And they believe a very, very spiritual aspect to creatures like that, and I'm not going to discount that. I mean, it's very, very possible that these are creatures of metaphysical property. I can only go by measurable evidence, and that's just the nature of who I am. But I won't rule it out. I mean, it could be the Nephilim. It could be from another dimension. It could have been dropped off by aliens. We don't know. Having said that, regardless what it is what it is, and we're going to have to deal with it one way or the other, no matter what its origins are. And if it, when I bring up the David Pilates Can-Am project, if it is preying on people, we've got to deal with that as well.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though. With Bigfoot, we hear so many stories about this. We hear people talk about how this creature is very much animalistic, throwing rocks, protecting its territory, making these whooping sounds, trying to scare people off. I think it creates a stench by lifting up its leg, much like a skunk would lift up its tail, all right, to kind of ward people off. But we also hear, sides of this creature that have interacted with people almost on a curiosity level, like many chimpanzees or even gorillas for that matter. So we have to take everything kind of into account here in regards to what this creature actually is. So when you define it, you are defining it as kind of an ape-like creature. Why lean that way comparatively if evidence is showing other sides as well?
Well, I tend to believe more toward a flesh and blood creature because literally nowhere else in the animal kingdom does that happen. It would be, not only would it be a unique creature in and of itself, being a missing link or an unknown relic hominid, the fact that it would have some sort of telepathic abilities or ability to travel through dimensions would literally be unique to that species, never happen anywhere again in the animal community. So I'm not gonna rule it out. I'm not gonna say it can't happen, but the preponderance of evidence is leaning toward a flesh and blood creature because it doesn't happen anywhere else in the animal community.
But it could happen here because there is evidentiary claims of that.
Mm-hmm. And I would never dispute that. I would never say they're lying. I would never say that can't happen because it's a possibility. I mean, we don't know until we either sit down and have a long conversation with one or have one to study. We just simply don't know what it truly is, and every approach is not, just because I have the approach that it's flesh and blood does not invalidate your approach. You're looking at it from one point of view. I'm looking at it from another point of view. Who knows? Somewhere in the middle might be the truth. It might be a little of both. It might be none of either. It might be, the Hare Krishnas were right, and it's just out there handing out pamphlets, recruiting for a new religion. We don't know. We've just got to go with what we believe and what we've observed and build from there until we have more evidence, until we have more knowledge.
DA, why do you think we have had such troubles proving the true existence of this creature?
Well, just because the scientific community is so resistant to new ideas and to change. I mean, how many years did they say the mountain gorilla didn't exist until somebody dragged one in? How long did they say that the billy ape didn't exist? How long did they say the orang pendek? How long did they say, like, the little creatures they found that they called hobbits, and was it in the Philippines? They said, oh, well, that couldn't exist. Well, they brought out bones and fossil record that it did. They will dismiss anything that they have not categorized as a cryptid or as being BS until somebody drags one in, and that happens. I mean, just because we don't believe it exists doesn't mean it's not out there. Scientists finding undiscovered species all the time, and every once in a while we find something big.
Well, I mean, and that's the big thing, though. Okay, and like Lee A says here in the chat room, no other animal comes with orbs or UFOs either.
That's true, but in the times I've been out in the woods when I've had things going on, I wasn't sure what was happening. I've never seen a UFO. I've never seen an orb. And when you're talking about orbs, especially orbs when people are ghost hunting, I just really, in all honesty, think those are dust motes or lens flares. I've never seen an orb, so I can't say for sure. But I know I shot a deer one time and followed the blood trail to where it bled out and never found another drop of blood and never found the deer. And the woods were absolutely silent. I mean, eerily silent. And I spiraled out in a spiral pattern looking for more blood, and I never found a track, and I never found another drop of blood. And that deer bled out where it fell. There was enough blood there. It didn't get up again. So I've had some weird crap happen when I was out in the woods. Can I conclusively say it was Bigfoot? No. Do I think it's something that I had not encountered before? Yes. I think it's very much something that was not the norm. I've heard noises. I've heard something growl at me one night when I was on a motorcycle. I stopped because I was having some engine trouble, and when I got off the bike on a gravel road in the middle of nowhere about 2:00 in the morning, something to my right, big, growled at me. I got back on the bike and got the hell out of there. But I do believe that these things are out there, and I can't say whether or not they're creatures of, as you put it, of the woo. I can't say that they're not extra dimensional. I can't dispute that. I can't say no and conclusively, undeniably, they are flesh and blood creatures. That's just the angle of approach I take it. I look for physical evidence, and the other stuff is immeasurable. You can get an eyewitness accounts, but I've never encountered it personally. I've never encountered anything that I could say was telepathic or extra dimensional in my personal life or my law enforcement career. So until I do, I will continue to follow physical evidence.
And you know what? That's probably the right thing to do. But I mean, like you said, though, you can't close your eyes to the possibilities of other experiences people are having. Did you find when you looked into the Bigfoot community that there were a lot of people closing that door before they've even looked into it because opinion meant more than scientific or evidential fact?
Yeah, there's so many people infighting in the communities, in the Bigfoot community, in the Dogman community, in the cryptid community, that if you don't believe exactly the way they believe, then you're the unclean, you're the heretic, and must be purged from society. There's just so much backfighting, and as long as that goes on, then people are never really going to share their research and find out what's really going on until somebody solves it and everybody looks like an idiot because they were fighting over essentially splitting hairs. I will never rule out anything as impossible until it's proven impossible. And nothing at this point has been proven impossible.
D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking about his latest book on Bigfoot called The Lakeview Man. It is a fictional release. However, we're talking about the realities of Bigfoot right now. In regards to this creature, do you think it is tracking humans down?
Oh, yeah. There's... With the number of people, the Can-Am Missing Project, Missing 411, when you look at the sheer numbers of people that have gone missing in national parks and in the deep woods, it's just astounding. And now you can discount a good chunk of that to natural predation, mountain lions, bears, things like that. But you can't say all of it was that. Because a good chunk of these guys were bow hunters, guys that were armed. Both rifle and bow hunters. You're finding experienced hunters, experienced outdoorsmen that are just vanishing without a trace, and that's not a mountain lion. Mountain lions, if you shoot at a mountain lion, it's off, it's gone. It's not going to stick around. That's something out there that's capable of hunting armed and experienced hunters. So that goes beyond what we fought before, what we've encountered before. So I think it is hunting people. I very much believe it's a very, very dangerous animal.
Out of all the reports you've read, how many have been in preparation for your book about people who are or have been hunted or surrounded by them?
My favorite accounts to read are the ones where people believe they were hunted or attacked. Be that with bluff charges, sticks thrown at them, and some accounts of people just being physically struck and driven back to their vehicle. But here's the thing: those are accounts from people that witnessed it and got away. We can't get accounts from people that vanished. You for the times that people have been killed or dragged off, well, you don't get accounts from that, so you can't factor that in. It's like back during World War II, the studies they did of the bombers that were coming back from bomb runs over Germany. They were trying to armor the areas where these planes were damaged that made it back, until somebody pointed out, hey, these are the ones that making it back. Maybe we should armor the areas that aren't shot up, because these are the ones that are coming back. We don't need to fix what more on the ones that are coming back. We need to think about, if they're not getting hit in these other areas, that's probably what's taking these planes down. And it was somebody that looked at that and evaluated that the damage to aircraft that they couldn't see was more important than the damage that they did see. So we're not getting the accounts of people that have vanished. We're getting the accounts of people that have been ran off or attacked and lived. So, we've got to look at it from a perspective of, if we know this is happening, what else is happening that we've got to be prepared for.
DA, do you believe then that if this creature is hunting people, that a lot of these missing cases outside of what David Politis has been able to find is something that we need to look into, that this creature may have taken people? I look at, and I'll give you an example of this, okay? So just bear with me. Up here, everybody has heard of the Highway of Tears, where many Indigenous women have gone missing, unfortunately, and this has happened over the span of the last 4 decades. And the RCMP in Canada believe that there is a number of serial killers that are taking advantage of these poor lost souls. Long story short, I was talking to a First Nations lady here one day. This is going back probably 6 years ago now, and found out that her cousin had been her cousin's wife had gone missing. And the First Nations up there wanted to tell the police, but nobody would really listen, that they believed that up to 20% of the women who were taken were actually taken as Sasquatch wives. And then she threw out a little bit of a stat. She goes, if you take every woman that's gone missing, a number of them have either been within 1 year of giving birth, currently pregnant, or on or just coming off of their menstruation cycle.
And that makes it a little more frightening. I mean, if it's dragging off women for a potential mate, that makes it far more dangerous. That means it's also a lot closer to us genetically than we thought, because you don't hear stories of dogs dragging off cats because they're lonely. This is a primate that's got to be genetically damn close to a human to be able to sense that is a potential mate instead of a food source. So that makes it a little more dangerous. It means it's got the potential to be extremely intelligent. And we've noted that some chimpanzees are tool users. So there's no reason to think that these things couldn't be as well. I mean, at the very least, maybe on the level of the, say, Native Americans when, they first encountered European settlers. Maybe they've got, flint knives and bows. We don't know. Because that could explain why somebody with a rifle got taken out, because if they took an arrow to the neck before they got a chance to get a round off, that'd be a very easy way to take somebody out from a distance. And we've got to give these credit; they're smart.
Yeah, and that's kind of the big thing that I'm kind of talking about here with this is, I mean, you're a police officer. If a First Nations person, now granted you're a little bit more open-minded than with what you do than a lot of other officers, especially working a case such as the missing women up here in British Columbia. But if you're an officer and somebody comes up to you and says, look, I think this may be a plausible understanding as to why some of these women have gone missing, do you listen to that, or do you say, look, I'm the police, I'm the one doing the investigation here, I'm not buying into anything like that? How do you deal with something like that?
I would never dismiss somebody's beliefs outright. If I was an officer up there along that area you're talking about where the Native Americans are going missing, if I was an officer up there and I couldn't help them in an official capacity. If the department wouldn't allow me to investigate the possibility of a Sasquatch abduction, I'd go out there on my day off and look into that. Maybe get with a couple of them and see if we could track it down. Because I take stuff like that very seriously. Just because it's not something you personally agree with doesn't mean it's wrong. I've never been the kind of guy who was too big to admit he was wrong. There's too much cases out there when people have closed their eyes to the possibility of something and it coming back and biting them in the butt. I mean, I will never out and out just say that can't happen. Until we can prove it and rule it out and say it's 100% not possible. 100% not possible. Then we can rule it out. But until then, all options are on the table. And if somebody approached me with something like that, even here in Missouri, if they said, "Hey, my wife went missing and I don't think it was a human," I would probably, if the department wouldn't come down on the kind of that kind of investigation, I've got days off and I've got plenty of equipment. And so let's take a couple of days to go out in the woods and see what we can find.
What would you be looking for out there for this creature?
I'd be looking for tracks. I'd be looking for scat. I'd be looking for territorial markers. There's a number of different territorial markers have been referenced. There's a little town. Actually, it's not a town anymore. It's an abandoned town in Alaska, Port Chatham. And they abandoned that town because people were going missing. And these were experienced hunters that were, and sometimes pieces of them were washing down the rivers back down to the bay. So they abandoned Port Chatham, Alaska, because if you read the accounts, they abandoned it because of Bigfoot attacks. And it's very, very, very aggressive up there. Some of the territorial markers they were talking about was small trees that had literally been ripped out of the ground and shoved back into the ground with the root wad sticking up. Territorial markers could be stick formations that people are finding out in the woods. They could be rock piles. I've got pictures of rock piles. I've got pictures of stick formations. These very likely to be these are very likely to be territorial markers, warnings to stay out of certain areas, or warnings to other Bigfoot. Hey, this is my area. Stay out of it. You look at those, the X formations and the stick formations. They're clearly not built for shelter, and they're not random events. I mean, these are the way these are set up. You can see where some of those branches have been broken off some distance away and stacked in this formation, so they didn't fall that way. They were put there by something with hands. And I'm not going to say people didn't do it, but if you find a stick formation or a rock formation and you're 5 miles from the nearest road, odds are really good somebody didn't come out there and build that up just to mess with you.
It's funny because where I have my gifting site in the woods up here for Sasquatches, we got about 1 minute and 10 seconds to go. I actually found the area because there was like a almost a rectangular pattern of the way sticks were sitting on top of each other in the forest. And it led to a couple of trees that were kind of shoved into another one. Now, that could have been the wind or whatever, but it looked like a little bit of a hut that was starting to be made, and that's where I put my gifting site. But ever since the forest fires, we haven't had much action there, Haven't had much action at the gifting site at all, but hey, it is what it is. When we come back from the break here at the top of the hour, DA, I got a couple questions from our audience that are coming on through, and I would absolutely love for you to take the time to answer those. And we only got you for another 30 minutes here, man. We've had you for 2 hours strong. We're going to have you for another 30 minutes, which I'm looking forward to. I appreciate you doing this tonight for our audience.
No problem.
Man.
I'm happy to be here.
Well, that's good. That's good because we're happy you're here as well. D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking all things cryptid. His latest book, The Lakeview Man, just dropped this week on Amazon. You could check it out on Kindle or paperback, as well as his other book that we were talking about, Apex Predator, Wolf Moon. This is about Dogman. Now, both stories are fiction, but there's a lot of reality in how he breaks it on down, and that's what we're talking about tonight with D.A. Roberts. Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio with your questions coming up next.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thaw, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there. The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the story you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month. And follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at Kajans.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
We are underway in the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Thank you so much for tuning us in. I am your host, Dave Scott. I appreciate each and every one of you for hanging on out with us, especially those who are listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and on the digital side on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Lochetic. Lochetic is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Don't forget to make sure that you follow us on Twitter as well for the show at Spaced Out Radio, along with my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. For the final time tonight, we introduce our guest, D.A. Roberts. He is an author. You can find all of his books on Amazon. Just type in D.A. Roberts and it'll pop right up, because that's what I did. And they were right there. And he's got a couple of new books out regarding cryptids. One on Dogman called Apex Predator, Wolf Moon, and The Lakeview Man. Now, both are in fiction, but we've been talking about the real deals tonight. And, D.A., we're going to get right to some audience questions here, if you do not mind.
Sounds good to me.
All right, Greco has a pair of them on Twitter. He is asking, what do you know, D.A., about the elongated heads, large giant man bones found and taken away, only to never hear anything about them again?
Well, there's been a number of discoveries over the years, including giant, larger than man-sized skeletons that were turned over to, for example, the Smithsonian. I think anytime that they find something that they can't explain, that it just disappears. And I'm not sure why. I don't know why they think that we're not ready for the possibility of another hominid being out in the woods or something even extraterrestrial. More and more, we're seeing that they're declassifying and admitting UFOs are out there. So I don't understand why they think we're not ready. I think there's a certain percentage of the population that will panic regardless. People that will freak out if something like that was admitted to be real. But I think by and large, most of us would go, "I told you." I just think they cover up way too much stuff, and they assume that we're dim-witted enough that we don't realize they're covering it up.
All right, let's move on to his second question here. Do you believe or know that not Bigfoot, but wild man accounts, they are believed to be cannibals, pardon me?
I think I think the accounts of quote unquote wild men where they were described as large and hairy or hair covered, I think they're just other accounts of Bigfoots, maybe younger ones that weren't as big. And I definitely think that they prey on people. Wild men accounts date back. You can find old accounts back in the newspapers from the 1800s, long before the Patterson-Gimlin film, back when people didn't know to call it Bigfoot. So I think a good chunk of the quote-unquote wild man accounts were them just trying to give a name to something they didn't know what the hell it was. There was no name for Bigfoot back then, other than the First Nations names like Buckwus or Box, or every tribe's got different names for it. If you look into the lore, Native American tribes all over have different names for Bigfoot. So I think having that knowledge that so many tribes acknowledge this, tribes that had no interaction, tribes from different entire sections of the country, I think we can't dismiss that. I think we can't just say that it can't be real because no European settlers ever documented it, and that's wrong because Lewis and Clark did. So did Leif Erikson. When talking about Vinland, they described large hairy creatures, large hairy men that they called what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, it's slipping my mind. But if you read the Leif Erikson accounts, he describes creatures that very easily could have been Bigfoot. They just referred to them as large hairy men, and for the Vikings to refer to them as large, that had to be pretty big. So the accounts are there. Even whether they called it hairy man, wild man, Sasquatch, whatever they called it, the accounts are there. And I think they're all talking about the same or very similar creatures.
D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And I got to ask you, in regards to Sasquatch, I mean, the big argument, much like Dogman, is, and I realize the answer is probably going to be the same as it was before, but it always seems to come back to a body. People want a body, DA, and they do not want to settle on anything else. They are tired of the footprints. They're tired of hair samples that end up being, some hippie man who ran away from the draft back in the 60s and has been living in the forest ever since. They're tired of all of this kind of surmising about what this creature is. They want that hard evidence. I don't think that there has been a high-quality video of this creature since the Patterson-Gimlin film 50-plus years ago. People are tired of the fakeness that they're seeing on YouTube and in photos, or the blob squatch that we always hear about with the blurry photos. At what point do we say enough is enough and try and get some hardcore evidence? And why, with that many people that are out in the field, are we not getting that hardcore evidence?
Well, I read an article one time by a photographer for National Geographic magazine, and he said that he was sent on an assignment to go out and take pictures of mountain lions. Okay? And this is a guy that is a wilderness photographer who that's what he does for a living. He would go out and he would photograph bears or whatever they needed for the magazine. He spent 3 months in the wild living in the backcountry before he got a usable shot of a creature we know exists. Because you go for a walk in the woods with your cell phone does not mean you're going to get a usable picture. And if I was walking through the woods, whether I was out there looking for Bigfoot or not, and one walked across my path, my cell phone's probably not going to be my first thought. I'm probably going to, assess the threat and probably try to get away from it. It's going to take a really, really level head to be able to get your cell phone out and get still images or video images. Unless you've got a GoPro mounted and recording the entire time you're out there, you're probably not going to have time to get the camera out, because these encounters last seconds. Sometimes fractions of seconds. And in this age of video shop and Photoshop, we're never going to believe any camera. We're never going to believe any image or video, no matter how good it is or how grainy it is, because it's so easy to fake images and video these days. Like you said, there's not going to be conclusive proof until somebody drags in a body. But here's the kicker to that. If it turns out that this creature is as intelligent as we are, or is one of our direct descendants, is a hominid, or even on your side, if it came from another dimension, it's an intelligent creature here observing us. How are you going to feel because you killed an intelligent creature just to prove your point? To me, that's murder.
True. But a number of years ago, just a couple of years ago, there was a scientist who killed a bird in Central America because they thought it was extinct, happened not to be, and he killed one for the sake of having it to be able to dissect it to learn more about it.
I think
it doesn't make sense. Well, I think so too, but that's how they were able to study it.
Yeah, I understand to a certain extent we've got to study things like that, but I can't condone killing something just to dissect it. Like you said, I grew up hunting, and I only ever hunted and fished if we were going to eat it. I don't condone trophy hunting. I don't condone killing something just to study it. I don't think, the phrase, cut your nose off to spite your face. I think that's essentially what it is. If you're trying to prove something to conserve it, killing it is the exact opposite of what you're doing to conserve. It's just one of those things where, again, people aren't going to believe it till you throw a body on the desk. But at the same time, killing one just to prove its existence is wrong. If I went out in the woods and encountered one, I'm not going to shoot it unless I have no other alternative. If it doesn't give me a choice about shooting it, if it's it or me, I'm picking me. I'm sorry, I'm picking me, and I will lay down the full fury of whatever firearm I've got until such point as it decides to leave me alone or I drop the threat. But I'm not going to go out there with the intent of looking to kill one. I think that's wrong.
There are many people who are hunting this, including former snipers in the U.S. military, a la television, and I realize we've got to take that with a grain of salt, but they are looking to try and get some sort of species, because the one thing with Bigfoot is, since it is seen literally across North America and around the world, that there has to be a living, breeding population of this creature. Do you think it is right to be searching for that creature to try and get something scientific to study?
I've heard of lots of cases of them going out to study wolves and study bears where they tranked one, tagged it, and released it. This is a smart animal. You tag it, it's going to tear it off, especially if it's got hands. Maybe a subdermal, something injected beneath the skin. Maybe that would work. But I think if you can tag one, if you can trank one, put it down, make all the recordings you need to do, give it a subcutaneous chip, and let it go, I think you would learn as much or more than if you killed one and dragged it in. A living, breathing subject to me is far more valuable than a dead one on a table. I understand that there are not going to be people the people are not going to believe anything until they drag a dead body in, and I think that's the wrong approach to take. It's like saying, I don't believe there's intelligent life in British Columbia. That doesn't give me the right to come up there and shoot you and drag you down here so they can study you on a table. If they're intelligent creatures, we've got no right killing one, unless it's to save your life as a last ditch you don't have a choice. And that's just how I feel about it.
Science says otherwise, though.
Science
wants that body.
Science is a destructive force. It's a double-edged sword, and it always has been. For every breakthrough it's given us, it's taken something from us. It's dangerous just to have that mentality that anything done in the name of science is justifiable, and I don't agree with that. How much could we learn by detonating a planet, but it doesn't give us the right to detonate one? I don't think the ends justify the means.
D.A. Roberts is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Okay, so with this creature and with Dogman, I got to ask you, who wins in a fight? Dogman or Bigfoot?
I think it would depend on the size of the creature. Some of the reports of Bigfoot put them in, at the 10, 11 foot range. And most of the encounters of Dogmen are in the 7 to 8 foot range. I've never heard of I've never read a Dogman encounter that put it at the 10 foot range. So I would say 10 foot Bigfoot versus 7 foot Dogman. I'm leaning toward Bigfoot on body mass alone. But pound for pound, an equal sized creature, I'm going to go with the Dogman because they're more dangerous. I think the claws, the teeth, it's a predator, and I think Bigfoot is a predator in a different respect. It's more like it's a thinking man's predator. It's a higher primate, like a human. So it's going to think like us. It's going to be a tool user. But the Dogman is just something out of a nightmare. It's the top of the food chain because it's the most animalistic. And I think pound for pound, it's more dangerous than Bigfoot. But when you get a Bigfoot that's bigger than one, I don't think the fight's going to be the same. I think the Bigfoot will win.
I'm going with Bigfoot as well. I think, as I've said numerous times, and I will repeat here tonight again, I think he goes with the camel clutch, borrowing it from the Iron Sheik himself, and I believe that's how he ends up pinning for the tap out.
I think it'd be more like, if you remember the old King Kong from the 70s, had
yes,
where he grabbed the giant snake and pulled its mouth open and kept pulling. I think that's what would happen.
Oh, either way, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Oh,
There's
it would be brutal.
There's going to be stitches all over the place there, man. Stitches all over the place. I would pay-per-view that. I definitely think we could.
It'd be an intense battle to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. One worth the pay-per-view dollars. We've got about 6.5 minutes left with you tonight here on Spaced Out Radio, DA, and time is winding down quick. In regards to Bigfoot, if we don't have to kill a creature, why are we so hard at accepting the evidence that is out there?
Again, science is stubborn. It always has been. They want to be the one that's right. And if you're not one of the ones that's setting policy, they're not going to accept your word for anything, no matter what evidence. You can bring in all the footprints you want. You can bring in all the hair samples, scat samples, even DNA samples. They're going to say, oh, it was contaminated. They're not going to believe anything until they cannot refute the evidence, and then they're going to go, oh, well, we knew it all along. And I hate that mentality, and you see that so much. It's so prevalent. I just hope that it doesn't take us endangering a species to prove it exists.
I hope not. I hope not either. But I mean, there is that chance that it could be that way. So if we don't have to do that, and we don't need that body, so to speak, in order to prove or disprove any sort of existence of this creature, what's the next step? What's the way we should be taking?
If it's, as your side says, the woo side, if it's intelligent, possibly from another dimension, at what point can we communicate with it? Can we reach out and make a concerted effort to sit down and understand it without killing it? You brought up the thing about military trained snipers going out and looking for it. Most of these shows where they document stuff like that, these guys are going out for a weekend. I think it's going to take a a concerted effort, and I don't mean over the course of a weekend or a few days. I think they're going to have to put a team on the ground somewhere in the deep remote recesses of somewhere like British Columbia, where they are so far away from humankind that they're not going to run into another one, and they're going to have to be out there a while before they get close to one. And I think it's going to take weeks, not days.
Well, we can only hope. Davin is asking, and thank you for joining our chat room, Davin. If bullets cannot kill either of them that we know of, how could they rip each other apart?
I think bullets can kill them. I think they're flesh and blood creatures, and then as such, they can die. Like I mentioned earlier, I think it's a matter of bone and muscle density. I think smaller calibers, and you look at somebody the size of you or I, an average human size, a .223 or a .556 AR round is a pretty good size hole to have in your body. But if I was 3 times the size I am now, that's a mosquito bite, even if it goes in kind of deep. So we're looking at minimal damage on a much bigger scale. However, there are larger rounds out there, large caliber rounds. I think it's all about where you're hitting it and what kind of muscles you're hitting. I think if I was going to shoot one, I wouldn't aim for heavy rib cage and heavy muscle. I would aim for the neck where the big arteries are. I'd aim upper arm to try to hit the brachial artery. I'd aim for the inside of the thigh to hit the carotid, not carotid artery. It's the big artery that runs through your leg. Oh, wow, that just slipped my brain. But I would aim for large artery groups because those will bleed them out. I don't care what you are, how tough you are. If you open up a large artery, it's going to bleed out in a matter of time. So that's what I would aim for. I would aim for junctures where there are nerve clusters and large arteries. I don't think I'd try to punch through heavy muscle masses, especially if I had smaller calibers.
Or you could listen to Dave and just come to the supernatural understanding that this creature cannot be taken down by a gun, brother. It just cannot be taken down by a gun. It is bigger than the gun, stronger than the gun. Oh, there. My promotion's over. that one almost hurt. But in regards to breeding, as we got about 2 minutes here, this will be my final question that I have to you. Do you believe there is healthy breeding populations of this around North America?
There would have to be. I don't think they're immortal. I don't think they live hundreds of years. There would have to be viable breeding populations. And there are enough remote places. And I live in the middle of the United States with big cities in any direction you want to go. And there are enough wild places where a breeding population could survive. They're there. Look at East Texas, the big thicket territory. That is some dense woods. There are areas those where people just don't ever get to because it's that dense. You'd have to get in there by a helicopter or by bushwhacking through with a machete. There are just too many places in the United States, continental United States, up through Canada and Alaska, where it's untraveled. It's uncharted territory. It's never been settled. And no matter how much we think we're masters of our domain, we're really not. There's just too much area. Well, we know more about the surface of the moon than we know about the bottom of our own oceans. There's plenty of big stuff that we haven't run into yet, and mainly because it doesn't want us to know it's there.
40 seconds or less, my friend. Tell everybody where they can find your books.
You can find me on Amazon. Just search D.A. Roberts or either the books, Lakeview Man or Apex Predator Wolf Moon. Or you can find me on Facebook or through my publisher, J. Ellington Ashton. That's jellingtonashton.com.
Awesome, my friend. Awesome. D.A. Roberts, I want to say thank you so much again for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good luck with your books and your dipping into the cryptid pool, my friend. I know you're writing fiction, but the cryptids will get you writing, something sci-fi in no time on that, my friend. And let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Anytime. I'm glad to do it anytime you want.
Absolutely. D.A. Roberts, everybody. We really appreciate him taking the time to join us. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, we got the SOR Newswire, and we got the Thought of the Dave. Stay tuned as we take this thing home on Spaced Out Radio.
that weekend's supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from dance to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today. We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want to remind you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and staying up to date on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Speaking of Twitter, you can follow us at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Let's get to the news, shall we? The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire, the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, and sometimes ufological. Japan's defense ministry has drawn up planned procedures in the event self-defense force pilots encounter unidentified flying objects, or UFOs. The U.S. Defense Department yesterday released videos of what it claims to be UFOs racing through the sky, so Japan decided they would act today. Defense Minister Kono Taro said to reporters he does not believe much in UFOs, but he would like to know why the Pentagon released the videos and its analysis of them. Interesting. Kono added that there have been no reports of self-defense force pilots encountering UFOs, but his ministry will be prepared in case they do. You know what, Mr. Taro Kono? How about we go back to Japan Airlines Flight 1680 in Japan, or in Alaska, where you fired the pilots with an impeccable flying record and safety record because they reported a UFO. There's some BS coming out of Japan, and this man just has to look into his own country's history for this. Come on, Taro, let's do this thing. Open up the UFO files for the Japanese. That's what they want. An enormous asteroid will sail safely past Earth tomorrow, and the space rock looks like it's wearing a face mask. It's protecting itself from COVID-19. COVID-19! Oh, come on. Who doesn't do that now when they hear COVID-19? COVID-19! Oh, yes. Thank you, Kenneth. According to data from NASA's Center for Near-Earth Object Studies, the asteroid known as 1998 OR2 is the largest to make a close approach to Earth in the next year, measuring somewhere between 1.1 and 2.5 miles in diameter. Yes, that would leave a mark. Yeah, the asteroid will come within around 3.9 million miles of our planet, roughly 16 times the average distance between the Earth and the Moon, while traveling at a speed of 19,461 miles per hour. Are we there yet? I tell you, I want to see this thing. Hopefully the clouds finally burn off, because I can't see a thing out there right now. First spotted in 1998 by scientists, the program at Hawaii's Haligakaya, or whatever it's pronounced, I apologize for butchering that, the observatory. The trajectory of this object is well known for the next couple of centuries at least, and there is no chance that it could strike our planet, according to NASA. Nevertheless, professional and amateur astronomers alike have been tracking 1998 OR2. Apparently, the name Ned was already taken as it approaches the Earth. Among them is a team at the National Science Foundation's laboratory in Puerto Rico, which is still conducting observations despite the pandemic, who noticed some intriguing features on the space rock that the radar images captured, including looking like it's wearing a hospital mask. You know, we're reaching for things there. I'm telling you, it looks much more different than a mask. Much more. If you look at the photo, it looks very feminine. That's what I'm going to say. The asteroid is one of the brightest and therefore the largest that scientists know about. The Arecibo team says their data indicates that it measures greatly, and they will say that it also rotates at about once every 4.1 hours. So about once every 50,000 miles. It doesn't say if it needs an oil change or not, or a tire rotation. The radar measurements allow us to know more precisely where the asteroid will be. Are we able to see it? That's what I want to know. You just got to look up in the sky around 2 a.m. Eastern. Maybe you'll see it. Maybe you won't. A 2,000-pound great white shark named Unamaki is moving further out into the ocean from U.S. coastal waters. Thank goodness. This man killer is going out there to feed off of people who've fallen off of boats now. Experts are speculating the movement of the predator could end up similar to mature females such as Lydia, a shark recorded crossing the Atlantic, diving deep and swimming tens of thousands of kilometers after being tagged in 2013. Unamaki is one of many sharks being tracked by data experts from the U.S. Marine organization Ozark. That is really cool. They're hoping that she could be pregnant, so that way they can try and find their breeding ground and their birthing ground. That would be cool. As white shark Unamaki starts moving off the coast further, we're starting to wonder if her track will look like the ones we've seen from other large mature females. Ozark said, "Wow, look at this. Unamaki is really moving out into the ocean. Could this be the beginning of a track like at Rockstar Livia laid down?" It's pretty sad when a great white shark has more Twitter followers than this show. Anyhow, we'll save that one for later. Earlier this month, the team revealed the 15-foot, 5-inch shark had veered off into the open ocean and speculated she could be moving off the coast to gestate. Ozark says tracking data could lead researchers to a great white shark nursery. We've only really tracked large females making these pelagic journeys, it says. Well, let's hope. Let's hope. You know what? I may, and this is the truth, okay? I may be scared to death of sharks, but they are an awesome creature, are they not? I would love to know. Like, there's so much mystery around them. Hopefully they're able to find that. That would be actually kind of cool. All right. How's this? I was just asked in the chat room a couple of minutes ago by Joe, who has beautiful hair, by the way, whether or not I wear pants in the studio. Kind of leads to this story. By the way, yes, I do. Or shorts. Most of us have lost count of the days we've been in quarantine, working at home in pajamas, Dave, and forgetting when we went outdoors last. Well, ABC News reporter Will Reeve might relate, except he seems to have forgotten something more important as he went on Good Morning America for a segment about pharmacies using drones to deliver prescriptions to patients. But at one point, the camera panned a little bit further back even though he acts as his own cameraman. And guess what? There he was in his dress suit, looking good, with a nicely pressed shirt, no pants, just boxer shorts. Viewers quickly pointed out to Twitter to call him out on it. I have arrived, he says, in the most hilariously mortifying way possible. Played it like a champ. In a response tweet to asking about putting on some pants, Reeve assured everyone he's been wearing shorts. Those look like boxers. I'm sorry. The reporter also joked that he won't be getting hired as a camera operator anytime soon. How's this? In mid of the pandemic, Girl Scouts of Alaska posted an update on their newly launched info page telling parents and troop leaders that it was putting a pause, its word in quotation mark, on Girl Scout cookie booth sales and gently encouraging everyone to postpone any in-person cookie sales that were planned before the end of the month. 4 days later, it took a harder stance, suspending all physical selling and delivery of cookies. So if any customers were waiting for that self-care that only 5 or 6 boxes of Samoas can deliver, they're out of luck until after the pandemic. We understand that this will be a pain point for troops and families, the council wrote. We will do our best to alleviate the hassle. Part of the hassle came in the form of some 144,000 unsold, undelivered boxes of cookies that are currently stacked in Girl Scouts, parents' garages, living rooms, home offices across the state. Leslie Rydell, the head of Girl Scouts Alaska, says that the bigger problem is the fact that without cookie selling season, the council would be short on significant amounts of money. It wouldn't be able to pay its 20 full-time workers, provide scholarships to the 3,500 girls who rely on the council's financial help, or cover the cost of running this year's camps. That's where First National Bank of Alaska has come in, and undoubtedly overwhelming, and an overworked loan officer was able to collect enough information from Riddle to help the council apply for a loan from the Federal Paycheck Program Protection. This program was established to help small businesses, those with fewer than 500 employees. We'll see how this goes. Otherwise, it's always nice to know that I want to know, what interest rate do the Girl Guides get at the Girl Scouts? All right. What interest rate do they get? How many cookies is that worth? We all want to know that. How many cookies to bring that rate down? Because we all know how addicting those are. A pregnant Arizona woman is being praised online after she was caught on camera rushing into the middle of a busy road to rescue a snake. Tawny Roush said she was driving back to her Rimrock home after a trip to the grocery store when she spotted the 6-foot snake in the middle of the road. It was the biggest snake I'd seen in a while, she says. Witnesses captured on video Roush using her flip-flop to catch the snake while talking to her husband on the cell phone, which she held between her face and shoulder. Roush says her husband met her at the scene, and together they took the serpent, a gopher snake, to be released near their home. It was too pretty of a snake to kill or anything. Roush said she was familiar with gopher snakes from her time living in Montana. They are awesome snakes, and I think people should take more consideration into getting to know the wilderness and knowing the animals, because you can actually save them a lot more than people think. Yeah, I am not doing that. It's a snake. All right? It's a snake. All right. Let's talk some lemurs here for a second. For ring-tailed lemurs, love stinks. They practically use body odor as a pickup line, with ringtails rubbing their fluffy tails into scent glands on their wrists so they may wave the aroma around enticingly. Lemur researchers, in more useless science, have witnessed the behavior in the wild for years and knew the stinky courtship ritual was uniquely important to the animal's way of life, but they weren't sure what exactly made the smell so intriguing to females. In a paper released earlier this month, olfaction experts at the University of Tokyo break down the chemistry of this natural cologne in the hopes of unlocking its sexy secrets. Apparently, it is tinder of the lemur variety. The researchers started by analyzing the smelly liquid secreted from the male lemur's wrist glands. They collected samples twice per month for several years and checked what kind of chemicals were in play. They found that 3 different odor compounds were most abundant during breeding season: dodecanol, 12-methyltridecanol, and tetradecanol. You know, we all need some tetradecanol. I'm just saying. You know, Moon Joey with his bandana, he's got some tetradecanol on there, that's for sure. This is the first time that pheromone candidates were identified in a primate. Author Kazushige Tuhara says. He's a scent expert, by the way, at the University of Tokyo. Yeah, you know what? This story's just crap. Honestly. Not that Captain Shirk picked out a bad story. It's a good story, okay? But let's face it, we're wasting money on this. Who cares what kind of pheromones and chemicals? Are we saving human lives by figuring out how lemurs procreate and how they turn each other on? The answer? No. No, we're not. All right? Sex pheromones? I mean, don't we already have that? That, you know, if you're having any type of dysfunctions, that Viagra and Cialis are in for that? I don't know. More useless study. Right there. And finally, wildlife officials in New York State said a suspected alligator that sparked numerous reported sightings in a city's pond was actually an unusually large snapping turtle. Yes, Camille Sazanowski, president of the Goose Hill Neighborhood Association. Oh, she sounds like a Karen, doesn't she? Anyway, she was at Schenectady's Steinmetz Park on Saturday when she spotted what seemed to be an alligator, but she decided instead of, looking into it, she'd go full force Karen. And Sazanowski said she started to change her mind when neighborhood residents started contacting her to report the alligator lurking in the pond. Anyways, police responded, and they went to the pond trying to find this alligator. They even erected a camera pole to find out, guess what? It was a turtle, and an overly large turtle that is feeding very, very well. No alligator. Everybody is saved without talking to the manager. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. Why or why not do you believe or not believe cryptids, ghosts, aliens are real? Spookles. Because the universe is far too massive for our tiny planet to be the only planet harboring life. Goddess Michelle, I believe they are all real. I just don't feel that all the witnesses can be wrong. As far as ghosts and aliens, I've seen them both. I know what I've seen. Shanna Banana, for me, there's no denying it. When it reaches out to you and touches you literally more than once, it gets to the point you could no longer ignore what you're feeling and experiencing, but rather submit to the reality of the existence of it. Oh, that sounds romantic, Shanna. Kevin, all the way from Nova Scotia. Enough personal experience that has been witnessed by others, so unless we are all sharing the same hallucinations, I have no choice but to believe in the paranormal. Katie says, I believe what we can imagine does or has existed. I'm not certain on what plane, though. Partly physical in our terms, but possibly not. Cajun Medicine Man, stories, teachings, and ceremonies tell us what has always been. All of the above. Cajun Medicine Man, I would love to sit in on you on one of those sessions with you. I really, really would. That would be awesome. Julie, I've experienced, can't really squish it into Twitter, but I've seen Sasquatch, poltergeist activity, day and night UFOs, light beings, psychic phenomena, ported a plumber's wrench. Weirdness abounds, man. It's a beautiful thing, really. It's all related, in my opinion. Beautiful. Let's get to the next one. Stephen, I believe because I have seen a Bigfoot and many ghosts and few UFOs. Dan, I think aliens are real precisely because of the sheer enormity of the universe. There are at least 1 septillion stars. Around each lies the potential for a planet like Earth and possibly an intelligence. Nikki, solely from personal experience that I know, and I believe in those from the list you gave, Dave. Thank you. Gail, I do not believe in any of those things being real because I have my eyes shut tight, my fingers in my ears, and I'm going no, 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 to a Rob Zombie tune. It works for her. All right, Tim, we have no idea what is possible. The brain being unlocked and used to its extent has great opportunities. Like the oceans, only 5% have been explored or used. We are minuscule compared to everything else. Gabe, I have seen ghosts and aliens. Sparkles, I believe I heard Bigfoot screams in Alaska. I lived in an active house for years, and I've seen ghosts. Got involved with a group for a time and saw a ghost, and all of a sudden, and also there was a picture of a ghost standing near me. It was sent to another radio show that I don't listen to anymore because I really prefer Spaced Out Radio. Thank you, Sparkles. I saw a huge gold craft in the sky. I know it was not built here on Earth, so something alien must have built it. Kelly, I believe there is something to all these stories. I believe that some people have had extraordinary experiences that nobody can explain. Long story short, hell yes, I do. Evan, I don't believe they are real due to the lack of evidence. That isn't to say those who claim to have seen them are lying. I do believe they believe what they saw, but that's not evidence. Marty, with a beautiful clown tonight, absolutely stunning. I believe there is enough credible eyewitness evidence for enough people worldwide to convince me that at least some of these beings exist. May not be in every case, but even if only 1% are real, then that proves they do exist. Cable Guy Matt gets the final word tonight. Life is way too boring without the unknown. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Dave. We will do it all again tomorrow on Facebook and Twitter, so make sure you check it on out. Also, a big thank you to Captain Shirk for putting together a fantastic SOR news wire. We put it all together and have it all stored for you at spacedoutradio.com, so make sure you go and check it on out. And a big thanks to author D.A. Roberts for being our guest tonight, talking about Dogman and Bigfoot. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, in your cars, at work, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone participating in our chat rooms tonight on Spreaker, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club on our website, and of course to all the snarkers and snarkettes snarking around on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. You were wonderful tonight. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great night, everybody. Guess what? We get to do it all again tomorrow. Same place. So I invite you to come along for the ride on the Woo train. Join me, will you? Good night.